Hi, I'm Mike. I was diagnosed with autism a couple years ago by Barb Luskin at the Autism Society.
Caitlin, I was diagnosed in 2000 with high functioning autism or Asperger syndrome.
I'm Larry. I was diagnosed about 5.5 years ago with Asperger syndrome.
My name is Pat. I was diagnosed with Asperger syndrome in June, when I was 45 years old, on June 2, 2009.
My name is Jen, and I was diagnosed with Asperger syndrome a long time ago when I was 14, probably, back when it was a relatively new thing back in the 90s.
My name is John. I was diagnosed about 1.5 years ago as part of actually marriage counseling.
We have difficulty, to a great extent, most of us anyway, have difficulty with conformity.
The kids always called me strange, weird.
It's an invisible disorder. It's an invisible disability. It's not like cerebral palsy, where it's very evident when you look at them. If you could come up with one word to describe yourself, my word was unique, because I'm a one of a kind.
I present as a conundrum.
Awkward.
Feisty.
There is that level of intense honesty.
My name is Matthew. I was diagnosed at 23. I'm 25 now, so I've been diagnosed for 2 years. And so the purpose of this is to get ourselves out there, get our faces out there, let the public who really don't understand what our diagnosis means, give them our perspective. One of the first questions I'd like to ask, and I think it's in some ways kind of a very appropriate question given the way how life is, what would you think is the most difficult part of living our lives with the diagnosis?
Mike, I would say a lot of socializing and dealing with work.
Caitlin, I'd probably say work and just daily, from day to day.
The routine?
Routine.
For me, it's very much socializing and not really understanding other people that well and frequently being misunderstood by people.
With me, it's working, it's fitting in with people. Another part of it is I can't handle multitasking. I just cannot handle when too much comes at me at one time. I cannot deal with it. I flip out.
I would say is socialization and dealing with the depression that comes with not being able to connect with anyone or interact with people without causing some kind of issue, and just feeling alone and like there's nobody that's like you anywhere in the world.
Nowadays is the what I call the jerk factor. The behavior that I manifest seems to pretty tightly follow to the heading of the behavior of a jerk, and it feels like a burden because I see it in other people here at the meetings, and I go, that person's behaving like a jerk, and that's the same thing I do. Some people that's fitting in. It's kind of like that. People tend to avoid people who they think are jerks, and so I feel that isolation, and I don't think I am a jerk, but I do see how I behave like one.
And I think, Jen, you put it out really, really good when you were talking about the loneliness factor. And would it be fair to say we always felt different? No matter what we tried to do, no matter what groups that we thought we belonged to, we still felt different. Is that a very fair assumption?
And when people realized that we were different, they singled us out, and that made us seem more different.
And then, I'm sorry, I forget. John, you had mentioned the jerk factor.
Jerk factor.
The jerk factor, which I'm sure we all have gone through in our lives. How many people, just with a quick raise of hands, would say they go through that on a daily basis? You go through moments on a daily basis where you just get angry, you get upset, and you say or do things that just upset people.
Yeah, and you do something that's totally innocent seeming to you, and it pisses everyone off.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting thing how as we get older and we're trying to adapt, and learn. I had a very interesting conversation while I was on campus with one of my classmates, telling them about one of the behaviors I do, and telling them how, as serve as an example, I'm a huge sports fan. I love to watch sports on TV. And when I sense things get super, super excited, if I am alone by myself in the house, I will pace and flap like crazy. If I'm in public, because I know the moment somebody sees that, you get that look.
My wife and I went to a sports bar to see that first Vikings game, and I've never done that. I don't like bars. I don't like groups of strangers, but I figured it was worth it just this one time. And my wife claimed that I did the most bizarre facial expressions and nervous tick-like behaviors, and I was completely unconscious to them. So I wonder. I agree with you. I feel like sometimes I'm passing, but I kind of wonder.
Can I ask you a question? If you had a chance to see yourself doing some of these things, do you think that would help?
I think it'd be fascinating. I'd be interested. I might be discouraged by it, but yeah.
Over the summer, I took an interpersonal communications course at college. We did it twice. We did a couple of different role plays, and we were videotaped, and then we watched the tape. What a learning experience that is.
Were you surprised? You were surprised by what you saw yourself doing?
I actually have kind of trained myself to what it was. I didn't really do a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very interesting to see yourself on camera. Like, I've listened to myself in conversations over recordings. Like, I'll be engaged in Skype chats with friends of mine. We actually record it, and then I listen back to it, and I hear just how much I interrupt.
It doesn't match how you view yourself in your head.
And it kind of molds you. You start to understand more about what you're doing, and this actually kind of brings up another point. How many of you guys have either heard or know about theory of mind?
How many heard of it?
Oh, yes.
Heard of it. Larry, would you like to explain?
I guess at its fundamental sense, theory of mind is a phenomenon where you put yourself into the mind of another person to determine or predict what that person is going to think or how they're going to react to something you're about to do.
I just do that
how they will respond to you.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more deficiencies from what I've read from plenty of books about people on the spectrum, is theory of mind. The ability to view your ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes, looking back at yourself, or anything like that. Your ability to empathize on someone else's level with either something that you do or something else.
It's not something that comes naturally to me, but it's something that I've like trained and forced myself to do.
Yeah.
In order to fit in socially, I'm almost paranoid about it now. I'm like, just what does everybody think of me? You know, what is their opinion of me? And then I take that data and I just kind of shove it into my head and somehow make it work. So.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you feel that you'll hit a point where you just feel like you're just going to be yourself?
No. I don't think the way that I was raised in my family and what I have been told fundamentally growing up is basically you can never just be yourself in society. You have to fit in or you can't live here. And I know that that's not right, but you know, getting that, it just growing up with that, having that in the back of your head, like for the rest of your life, you know, I have to constantly think, how loud is my voice? Am I too loud? Am I too loud right now? You can't be loud and be, you know, alive.
Look me in the eye when you're talking to me.
that is a problem. Yeah, so, you know, honestly, you know, for other people it may be different, but I don't think I'll ever be able to stop that because that's not what I was taught. That's not how I was raised.
Can I see a quick show of hands of people who feel like they're comfortable as themselves, meaning you don't care whether you are yourself, and whether people like it or not, this is who you are, and people love you for who you are, or people hate you for who you are, but you're going to be genuine to who you are.
Can I raise my hand and not raise my hand at the same time?
Give it one of these. There you go. So Pat, Larry, Mike, and Caitlin. Yeah, sorry. I personally am that same way. I figure the only way I've ever known to be is just me. That's all I can ever be. I mean, why my personal feeling, I don't know how many of you agree with me, and I guess it depends on the different parts of who you are, but why, and I guess in one way I view it twofold: lie to yourself and then lie to someone else when it's just not the truth. That's my personal belief on it.
No, I want it. I want to be myself. That's what I want more than anything, is to just be like, this is who I am and you have to accept it. But, you know, it's never going to be something I'm completely comfortable with, because I was constantly taught, you have to fit in. You have to be part of society. This is what you have to do. You have to use manners. You have to be fake if you have to. You know, that is the way that I was brought up. And when you hear that every single day, and you hear that everything about you that's weird or stands out makes you an embarrassment.
Just because they tell you that you have to fit in when you're trying to be yourself doesn't mean you can't improve who you are.
Oh no, I agree. I completely agree with you. I'm not like I think everyone should be themselves. I'm just explaining the issues that I personally have that are a barrier for me from ever doing that.
And this is the kind of thing that we want to bring out with the videos. Larry, you had something you wanted to say.
Neurotypicals seek conformity. They want to be like everybody else. They want everybody else to be like them. We have difficulty, to a great extent, most of us anyway, have difficulty with conformity. For myself, I learned to assume the role of the chameleon in order to succeed in neurotypical society. I'm retired now. I'm past that. I'm very much my own self. I am a strange, bizarre individual.
Real quick, so the people that we're talking about, when we say neurotypical, it's a psychological term about typical people versus people on the autistic spectrum.
Yes.
Just to get that across so that people don't get confused by this. Larry, you can go right back.
No, that's, you know, I don't want to take too much time here. You know, like most on the spectrum, I can talk and talk and talk. I'll let somebody else.
Would anyone who hasn't said much like to add anything to this?
The kids always called me strange, weird. I never had anything in common with people. I never felt I had in common with other people. Like most guys, they like football. I'm not into football, and I guess a lot of people think that's weird. I never had anything in common with people until I was diagnosed with autism, and then that kind of explained the weird behaviors and stuff that we go through, and then that just kind of explained why we do the strange stuff that we do.
Mm-hmm. Quick question around the room. How many people have been bullied as a kid?
Absolutely.
Universal.
Yeah. Universal.
Universal. How many of us would say we have... Okay, let me phrase it this way. How many of us feel that we have, in terms of friends, a very tight, close circle versus maybe a large variety of acquaintances?
Oh, tight, yeah. Small.
Very tight.
It's about half and half.
Very few, very tight.
About half, yeah. Like like for myself, my most inner circle is maybe about 3 or 4 people
Yep.
who I could share anything and everything with, and they could be just as the same with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was never consciously aware of being necessarily a weirdo, but I was being made fun of, but I wasn't aware of it. I thought it was just I thought everyone was treated this way, and yet now that I've been diagnosed and I've been mixing with you all for a while, I'm also very aware how unconscious I was to my efforts to become normal or to act differently, and the defensiveness about my weirdness. So someone would confront me with some behavior that was off-putting, and I would be very defensive or kind of an up yours kind of attitude. I mean, I'm not doing this is the way I am. Or walking away from that conversation thinking, I don't care. So it's weird because on the one hand, I had this conscious I don't care statement going on, but I look back and I see behavior that was clearly about, God, this is awful. I'm so lonesome. So, for example, one of the ways I cope is by going to 12-step meetings, AA meetings, because the AA meetings, I pretended I was a drunk because at AA meetings they have to accept you. I used to tell people, for years I told people the reason that I like AA meetings is because they have to like you ugly. And I never had a second thought like, well, why do I think I'm ugly? So the friends, you mentioned the friends I have are the people who, for whatever reason, that wasn't really a problem for them being kind to me, is this thing I thought of as ugliness.
Here's an interesting question I want to pose. And it's interesting because it's always interesting how people view themselves. What do you think, as you look at yourself now, is your biggest strength? What's your most positive aspect or quality that you have?
I think of myself as a bridge builder. Now there's the double entendre with that as an engineer, but the other aspect of it is building bridges between people, bridges of understanding, and that's where I am now. That's one of my strengths is in bringing people together.
Caitlin. Mine probably would be the more detail-oriented, being able to go, this would work, this is how you can do it at work, and like if someone does it wrong, like I can pinpoint what they did wrong. I know how the procedure is supposed to be done, and that I can basically photo learn it just by watching someone else do it wrong, learn the right way.
Anyone else have anything?
Well, it took a lot of practice for me to get this way. I mean, I just learned communication skills just by listening to other people, and I almost got to the point I sound like a professional comedian if I could only memorize what I do instead of have to read off a script. But I've gotten really good at it because I keep practicing at it and keep picking up from other people that I find interesting, and I wanted to say that caused me to say unique and thought-provoking things.
What we learn and how we've adapted to socialize with people is strictly through observation. We would be in the back of the room watching everyone else, trying to process it in our heads how to do it.
That, being socially ostracized or somebody pointing out you're not supposed to do that has, trial and error made you realize how you're supposed to act.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of people told me that I can't understand how I could have Asperger's. I'm going to speak so good, but then I got some of the other symptoms of the people on the spectrum, many of the other symptoms.
This is such a big issue. That it's an invisible disorder. As far as those of us, like when I told my class today, in my education class, I have Asperger's. And the fact of the matter is, if you were to first meet me today, it would never come across your mind that I was diagnosed. And that's the difficulty of the disabilities. It's an invisible disorder. It's an invisible disability. It's not like cerebral palsy, where it's very evident when you look at them. To build on that question, because this is going to tie right into this, the whole misunderstanding thing. I just got one word to say, and I just want your first reaction when I say this word, so to kind of span around. Relationships.
Yeah, I am here.
What a can of worms that is when it comes to misunderstanding.
I'm divorced.
Yeah, I'm here because of the counseling I was getting for my marriage. That's how the diagnosis occurred. Oh, that's why you're a shitty husband.
That's why you're a jerk.
That's why you're a jerk.
I was married 27 years. I'm now divorced. Fundamentally, what it came down to is my wife couldn't understand how I could be so good in my professional life at work and be so dysfunctional at home and in social situations. We didn't know about the autism, and it came down to her thinking that I didn't care or that I didn't love her. And by the time we did find out what the core of it was, the autism, it was too late. There was too much water under the bridge, so to speak, and it was too late. There was too many hurts to recover.
How many have ever considered maybe it might be easier just because of the nature of it? It's something I haven't done, but it's something I wouldn't be closed off to. Dating with someone else who has Asperger's or autism.
I've heard those marriages do better.
Absolutely.
I've thought about it, but it's weird. I feel, the people with Asperger's and autism that I've met, I still can't relate to them. I can't relate to the neurotypical people, and the condition, the spectrum, everybody is so individualized and different that you know, you come to like a meeting like this with like the hope, oh, I will finally meet someone who's from my home planet, who's like me, who I can relate to, and then it's like, oh, there's a bunch of you.
If you could come up with one word to describe yourself, one word, and why? I'll just start off with myself because it's something I thought about. My word was unique because I'm a one of a kind. That's how I view myself. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I think I stole someone else's.
Do you have one?
That was it.
Well, I was going to say weird, which is a variation on the same thing,
Yeah.
but a little less nice.
The word I've heard from people, especially women I wanted to go out with in college, was "you're too intense."
Oh, I get that all the time. All the time.
I looking back, I see that if a subject struck my fancy, I would talk the Jesus out of that subject, and people would say, "Back off. It's interesting, but not that interesting."
I don't think you can pick just one word. There's too many
We're
words to
complex
describe.
beings.
Did you have
I have a very definite word, and it's been with me a long time. It's conundrum. I present as a conundrum.
The puzzle.
Explain that one, will you?
Puzzle. People don't understand. There are too many conflicting behaviors in the sense that what they refer to as splinter skills. Very good at some things and very poor at other things.
Yeah.
And it confuses people when they see you function well at one thing and poorly at something else that they think should be very even across the board. But we as a general rule have splinter skills. And it confuses people. So my word is conundrum.
Feisty.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear what some people say. Like when I did it with some people, some of them were saying stuff like busy because their schedule's always busy, or just various things. But the very first thing that came to my head, and unfortunately we didn't have enough time to get around me because it was just such a big group. But my word was going to be unique.
Caitlin, do you have a word?
Awkward.
Yeah, that fits me.
Yeah.
It's interesting how we can kind of throw around these words.
Different.
Yeah.
Different.
There is that level of intense honesty, you know, the inability to put on that face and hold back what you feel, and you just tell people what you think, you know, whereas everybody else, you know, they'll play polite and then they'll bitch behind your back. But, you know, with people on the autistic spectrum, we just say things exactly as they appear in our heads, and that is both an incredibly positive thing and just a huge can of worms.
You need to see where I grew up, because I'm not from here. I didn't have to deal with Minnesota nice.
Oh, you're
until I
lucky.
moved down here. I grew up in Philadelphia.
Oh, so everyone's an asshole.
Yeah, pretty much. The one thing about growing up, because I grew up on the East Coast, you always knew where you stood with people. And I moved out here 2 years ago. I cannot begin to tell you how appreciative that is when you can go up to someone and say, I don't like you. They say, I don't like you back, and you just know to stay away from each other.
That's my ideal universe that I want to live in.
That's how it was for me growing up. There were guys and people that I was around that says, I don't like you. And I would keep myself away from them. And they knew. I didn't hide it from them that I didn't like them.
See, my mom taught me, no matter what you do, no matter how bad you feel, no matter if you've had a horrible day, if you've had the worst day of your life, you smile and you be nice.
That's Minnesota.
Yeah.
She's from California, so.
Oh, jeez. I work at a local grocery store, and I was cashiering one time. This is a great story. And you greet people, you ask them how they're doing stuff, and the whole Minnesota nice thing, they yell cheer for you. I had someone come to me, and they said, you know what, I'm just not having a good day today. And I looked at them, I said, can I shake your hand? You're the first person who's been completely honest with me all day. And they smiled. Like, how hard is it to say that if you're not having a good day? Because to me, I hear that, and my first sentence is, move along as fast as you can because you don't want to impede them. Instead of having people pretend that they're happy when they're not, and then they seethe because you take your damn time.
Well, people have that passive-aggressive way of expressing their negative emotions too, just kind of like, well, you know.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. I just want to kind of quickly thank everyone for coming to this. We'll probably be doing a few more of these. This has been great. This has been better than I think myself or Bryan could have hoped for. I was curious if any of you had any final thoughts, thank yous, anything you want to just surmise as we kind of finish up for tonight.
Become educated, learn more about if you have autism, and the people that don't have it, I say the same thing, learn about it because it'll help you deal with people that do have autism.
Those people going somewhere. Why have I never cared? Can you eyes for just 1 second? Give me your eyes so I can see everything that I keep missing. Give me your love for humanity. Give me your arms for the brokenhearted.